Hi everyone. In this video we're going to take a look at two problems which have prophylactic elements, which means you have to find Black's idea and then stop it while executing your own idea. I hope that you enjoy them.
Let's take a look at one composition which I've created. This one's white to move. I would say it's pretty challenging, but feel free to give it your best. Alright, let's look at the solution. The first thing to note is that bishop e5 is the most natural move, trying to stop the king from running out of the corner. However, black has the nice move queen h7, stopping bishop e4 checkmate, and white has nothing better than bishop b2. If they tried, say, f5, then just queen takes f5, and this would just be a stalemate. So instead, bishop f5 immediately is the move. The first point of this is that we're controlling the c8 square. So king b8 runs into bishop e5, king a8, bishop e4, the so-called rolling bishops. I guess I'm the one calling it that, but okay, these are rolling bishops now. So bishop f5, there are a few other options for black. First, also, let's note queen d8 at any point pretty much just runs into bishop e4, king b8, bishop e5, king c8, bishop f5, winning the queen. That happens in pretty much every line. Again, the rolling bishops. Black has two better tries. Queen g8 is one of them. And now bishop e5 again runs into stalemate tricks. Queen g2, king g2 is stalemate. So instead we play bishop h3, and we actually put black in zugzwang. That's kind of one of the main themes of this puzzle, stalemate and zugzwang. The point is that if it were white's turn, bishop e5 does not work, because then like queen g1, king g1 would just be stalemate. But black can't keep his queen on the g file, so he can't do these checks. So for example, queen e8 is possible, and then bishop e5. Now bishop g2 is a threat, and black tries queen c6 with the idea bishop g2 is stalemate, but white can prevent this by playing c3 first, just allowing black to have a movable piece. And then black has nothing better than bc, but after bishop g2, white stops the pawn and just has an extra piece in a winning position. So after bishop f5, the main attempt for black is queen to e8. And now what does white do? There's actually only one win here, and it's this bishop h3 move again. A bit of a multi-purpose move. The main point is usually bishop g2 is coming, but it's interesting to see exactly why this move works out in a few different variations. First, let's also see that bishop g4 is a similar idea, but it doesn't work on account of queen b5. And now black is threatening to take a6, so white's more or less forced to play bishop e5, threatening bishop f3 checkmate, but now queen e2, and after bishop e2 this is a funny stalemate. And kind of similarly, bishop e5 does not work, again queen c6, and there are just a lot of stalemate possibilities, so this would just be a draw. So after bishop h3 there are two tries for black. I think maybe one of the more natural ones is queen g8, and the first point is, as usual, bishop e5, queen g1 is stalemate, but it's hard for white to really do anything. But again, we can just put black into zugzwang with bishop d4 or bishop a1, just keeping an eye on the e5 square but not actually moving to e5, as that would control the b8 square. For example, queen e8, bishop e5 now, queen c6, and then c3 as we've seen before. And again, king b8, bishop e5 check, we have this. And after king a8, c3, this resource as we've seen a few times. Note, c4 in general isn't working because black is not forced to transpose to the line. They can just play queen g1, king g1, and now en passant is no longer possible, so this is a stalemate. So after bishop h3, queen b5 is the main attempt. Now we can play bishop e5. In fact, we're forced to because black was hitting a6 and e2. Black could try queen d5 here, but of course we're not going to play bishop g2, queen g2. We know that by now. We just play c3 first. So after bishop e5, queen e2 is the main try, bishop g2, forcing black to give up his queen, and it seems like it's all over and we're just going to play king f2 and win. But then you realize king f2 allows e1 queen, and this is a stalemate. So what we have to do is first play bishop c3, the final finesse. This stops the pawn, and after bc, king f2, the king has the b8 square, so this is no longer stalemate, and white just has a few extra pawns and a winning endgame. Let's take a look at another puzzle with similar themes to the previous one. So this one's white to move. You can pause the video while I give you a few seconds if you would like. Alright, let's look at the solution. So rook takes e5 is how it begins. Note that bishop d6 check is a natural move, but after king a8, surprisingly, this is only a draw. But we'll understand pretty quickly why this is the case. Returning to rook takes e5, black has nothing better than recaptures. And now knight c4, this is the critical position. To understand why knight c4 is the right move and not bishop d6, we really have to delve deep. So bishop d6 check transposes to bishop d6 check on the first move. So in this position, after king a8, the most natural attempt for white is knight c4, hitting the pawn on b6 and trying to go bishop c7 and knight b6 checkmate. But as we can see, black can only move his queen here. So he has the stalemate trick, queen f6 check. And now there's really no way to refuse this. Of course, if you take it, stalemate. But if you try to run away, there's no running. So that's just a draw. Instead, bishop c7 is a more refined attempt at trying to win, hitting the queen, but also freeing up black's d-pawn to avoid stalemate tricks. Then white wants to come with knight c4. But actually, there are hidden stalemate tricks here too. Queen h4. White continues with knight c4, and now queen h7 check. Black begins a series of checks. White has a few different moves here, but they transpose essentially. If white tries king f6, just queen h6, and white has to come back on account of king takes e5, queen g5 check, and black would be the one winning after picking up the knight here. So instead, white tries, say, king e8, queen g8. Now white has two options. King d7 is the obvious one, but this takes away one of black's last movable pieces. So now the stalemate tricks come out again with queen e8 check, and you can't refuse that because you would lose the knight, so this is just a draw. Instead, king e7 is possible, queen g7 check, and white could repeat or play on with king d6, forcing black to make the last accurate check, queen f8 check, and now king e5 would lose to queen c5, picking up the knight, so white has to go king d7, queen e8 with the draw. All of this is to show that bishop d6 check is not the right move, so instead, knight c4 works. And we can kind of explain why knight c4 works. First of all, you should always consider reversing the move order. So in this case, instead of bishop d6 followed by knight c4, we play knight c4 and then perhaps followed by bishop d6. And we're also kind of stopping the stalemate ideas by playing knight c4 first. So it's a bit of a prophylactic idea in a sense. Now black has a few different options. Let's first see queen h8. This is just trying to get the queen out of the danger zone, but it gets mated immediately. Bishop d6, king c8. As always, king a8 runs into knight b6. So king c8, knight b6 anyway. King d8. And now white has two checkmates, bishop c7 or bishop e7, and we see that the white king does a nice job of cutting off that last escape square. Instead of queen h8, d6 is possible, but this is very similar to the solution that we'll see. Bishop d6, king c8, and bishop e7 is very similar. And finally, king a8. This is a funny little trick trying to goad white into playing bishop d6 transposing to the queen s6 line that we saw before. But instead, white just plays bishop e7, and he's going to go knight b6 and bishop d6 mate next. For example, queen h8, knight b6, king b8, bishop d6. So d5 is maybe the best attempt for black, hitting the knight and really forcing white's hand. So white plays bishop d6. He kind of has to do this. King c8. Note that king a8, now that white has induced the king to go to a worse square, white plays bishop e7, hitting the queen, which is supporting the pawn on b6. So black really can't do anything here. If he moves the queen, it's checkmate. But if not, then white just has an extra piece and eventually going to collect all these pawns and win with his extra pawn. So back to the main line, king c8, bishop e7. This is actually a funny little stutter step, bringing the king to a slightly worse square before attacking the queen. And now black really is out of options here. So queen h8, we've seen this idea before, knight b6, king b8, bishop d6 is mate. There's not really anything else to try. Queen d7, knight b6 with the fork. So the last option is to take this pawn. Note that again, dc4, bishop d8 is going to be a winning endgame for white. So d takes e4, bishop takes d8, king takes d8. And now this is a funny position because it's actually a theoretical win, which I won't get into. But the point is that without pawns on the board, two knights versus a king is just a draw. But with pawns on the board, white can strategically blockade them and then wait for the right moment to release them in order to avoid stalemate ideas.
So that was the video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already so you can see more of my puzzles, and you can click here if you want to see my previous video. Thanks so much. Bye.